A 63-year-old man walked into a coffee shop last month, and within seconds, three women in their 40s turned to look at him. Not because he was famous, not because he was loud, but because of something specific about the way he moved, stood, and existed in that space. And what I'm about to share with you are the exact body parts that triggered that instant, almost involuntary attention. These are the physical features women scan for in milliseconds, whether they realize it or not. Here's something that might challenge everything you've been told about aging and attraction. Renowned relationship therapist Esther P.L. has spent decades studying desire, and her research points to something fascinating. She's observed that female psychology of mature attraction in mature relationships often becomes more nuanced, more specific, and in many ways more intense than the surface level attractions of youth. And when it comes to men over 60, women aren't looking where you think they're looking. Most men assume that aging means becoming invisible to women. They think the game is over. They believe that physical attraction only applies to younger men with gym bodies and full heads of hair. This assumption is not just wrong, it's actually costing them connections they could easily be making. A study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that women's attraction patterns shift significantly as they mature. While younger women often prioritize conventional attractiveness markers, women over 35 increasingly respond to what researchers call character indicators, physical features that signal something deeper about a man's nature. And here's where things get interesting. These character indicators are often found in body parts. Men completely overlook parts they don't think matter, parts they've never once considered improving or even paying attention to. Esther Pell talked extensively about how desire operates on multiple levels simultaneously. The conscious mind might say one thing, but body cue number one, eyes and facial expression. The body responds to entirely different signals. Women are constantly processing physical information about men, running unconscious calculations about health, capability, emotional availability, and yes, even potential as a partner. The five body parts I'm about to break down are the exact areas where these calculations happen fastest. And the fourth one on this list, it's the feature that most men have completely abandoned caring for. Yet it remains one of the most scrutinized by women. The transformation possible here is almost unfair once you understand it. Let's break this down. Number one, the hands. This is the body part women notice first, and they notice it constantly. Hands are under almost perpetual observation even when a woman isn't consciously aware she's doing it. Esther Pell has spoken about hands as a primary canvas of intimacy. She notes that hands tell a woman everything she needs to know about how a man moves through the world, how he treats objects, and by extension, how he might treat her. But here's the specific breakdown of what women are actually scanning for. First, grooming. Not manicured like a hand model, but maintained. Clean nails trimmed appropriately without dirt underneath. This sounds basic, but the number of otherwise attractive men who neglect their hands is staggering. A body cue. Number two, posture and shoulders. Survey by a major grooming brand found that 68% of women have been immediately turned off by poorly maintained hands on a first meeting. Second, the way hands move. Are they calm and deliberate or nervous and fidgety? Do they gesture with confidence when speaking or hide in pockets? The movement of hands signals internal state, and women read this fluently. Third, and this is fascinating, women notice the signs of capability in hands, some roughness from actual use, evidence that these hands have built things, fixed things, done things. There's a reason the phrase good with his hands carries romantic undertones. It signals competence that extends far beyond manual labor. A woman I spoke with described meeting a 64-year-old man at a dinner party. She said she noticed his hands before anything else. They were weathered, but clean, calm when resting, expressive when he talked about his woodworking hobby. She said those hands told her he was someone who created things, took care of things, paid attention to details. Now, here's the actionable element for men over 60. Hand care is embarrassingly simple, yet almost universally neglected. Basic moisturizer to prevent excessive dryness, regular nail maintenance, and most importantly, awareness of hand movements. Slow body cue, the three hands, and grooming. Deliberate, purposeful gestures read as us confident. Quick, anxious movements signal insecurity regardless of what's being said verbally. Dr. David Given, an anthropologist who studies nonverbal communication, found that hand displays are among the most powerful attraction signals in human interaction. Women are evolutionarily primed to notice hands because they indicate so much about capability, health, and temperament. And speaking of features that signal temperament, the next body part might surprise you with its impact. Number two, the forearms. This one consistently shocks men when they hear it. Forearms. Really? Yes, really. And there's significant science behind why. When asked to rank attractive body parts on men, women across multiple studies have placed forearms surprisingly high, often above chest, above abs, sometimes even competing with face. And for men over 60, this becomes even more relevant. Here's why forearms carry such weight. They're one of the few body parts regularly visible in normal social situations. Arms might be covered by sleeves, chest hidden by shirts, but forearms appear whenever a man rolls up his sleeves, reaches for something, or simply exists in warmer weather. Estelle discusses the concept of body cue. Number four, jawline and facial hair micro-exposures in attraction. The small revelations that occur in everyday moments that trigger interest. A rolled sleeve revealing a forearm is exactly this kind of micro-exposure. It's intimate without being intentional. It's revealing without being excessive. The biological reasoning is straightforward. Forearms indicate physical capability. The muscles there are working muscles used for gripping, lifting, controlling. They signal that a man can do things, handle things, manage physical reality. A friend of mine, a woman in her mid-50s, told me about a contractor who came to fix her kitchen. Cabinets described him as average in most ways. Normal height, ordinary face, 60-some with gray hair. But when he rolled up his sleeves to work, she said something shifted. His forearms were defined, capable, and suddenly the entire interaction felt different. She laughed when she told me this. I didn't even know I noticed forearms until I couldn't stop noticing his. For men over 60, forearms are actually an area where age can work in your favor. Years of use create definition that gym exercises alone can't replicate. The key is maintaining enough muscle mass through basic activity while keeping the skin reasonably healthy. Simple things matter here. Hydration affects how forearms look. Basic grip exercises maintain body cue. Number five, movement and energy definition. And perhaps most importantly, the willingness to actually show the men who perpetually wear long sleeves are hiding one of their potential assets. But now we need to talk about something far more subtle and far more powerful. Number three, the eyes and what surrounds them. This is where we move from purely physical to something more complex. Eyes are obviously important, everyone knows that. But what women over 35 are actually scanning for goes beyond just eye color or shape. Esther Peele has written extensively about what she calls the gaze of presence. She describes it as the way someone's eyes communicate, whether they're truly there in a moment or mentally elsewhere. And she notes that this quality becomes more detectable as both the observer and the observed mature. For men over 60, the eyes tell a story. The lines around them, often called crow's feet, aren't necessarily negative. A study from Western University in Canada found that people with smile lines were perceived as more genuine, more warm, and more trustworthy than those without them. The evidence of a life spent laughing, squinting into sunlight, expressing emotion. This reads as attractive when combined with present, engaged eye contact. What women are scanning for specifically includes three elements. What women actually read from these signals. First, the quality of attention. When a man looks at a woman, does it feel focused or distracted, or his eyes taking her in or looking past her? This quality of attention is visible and immediate. It cannot be faked for long. Second, the expressiveness. Do the eyes change when he speaks about things that matter? Do they light up, soften, intensify, or do they remain flat and unexpressive? Women read emotional availability through eye behavior more than almost any other feature. Third, the health indicators. Clear whites, appropriate moisture, alertness. These signal overall health and vitality, which women process unconsciously as partner viability indicators, even when they're not consciously evaluating someone as a potential partner. I spoke with a woman who described meeting her current partner at age 58. He was 62 at the time. She said the first thing she truly noticed were his eyes, not their color. She actually couldn't remember the color when I asked, but the way they focused on her when she spoke, she felt seen. She felt interesting, and that feeling was created entirely by how his eyes behaved during conversation. The practical element here involves both health and habit. Eye health matters. Proper sleep, hydration, and if needed, easy fixes that work medical attention for any issues. But the habit side matters more. Practice being present when speaking with someone. Actually be there. Put away the phone. Quiet the internal chatter. Focus. This quality of presence is trainable, and it shows first in the eyes. But now I need to tell you about the body part that most men have completely given up on. Number 4, the shoulders and overall posture. This is the feature I mentioned earlier. The one men over 60 have largely abandoned caring for, yet it remains under constant female surveillance. Posture, the set of the shoulders, the way a man carries himself through space. Here's something that might be uncomfortable to hear. Posture is one of the fastest ways women sort men into categories: confident or insecure, vital or declining, worth approaching, or best avoided. These judgments happen in under 2 seconds, and they happen almost entirely based on how a man stands and moves. Estapel discusses posture as an element of what she calls erotic presence. She notes that desire responds to energy, and energy is expressed physically through how the body occupies space. A man can be conventionally final psychological insight, attractive, but hold himself in a way that neutralizes that attraction. Conversely, a man with ordinary features can become compelling simply through how he carries himself. The research supports this dramatically. A study from the Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin found that expansive postures increased perceived attractiveness significantly more than clothing, grooming, or even facial symmetry. Participants consistently rated individuals with open, upright postures as more attractive, more confident, and more desirable as partners. For men over 60, posture often suffers from decades of desk work, poor habits, and the general cultural message that it no longer matters. But here's the reality. It matters more than ever because at 60, posture becomes a choice that signals either surrender to aging or continued vitality. The shoulders specifically are a focal point. Rolled forward shoulders signal defeat, protection, withdrawal. Pulled back shoulders signal openness, confidence, engagement with the world. A woman in her 60s told me about attending a reunion event. She noticed 2 men who had graduated in the same year, both the same age, with similar builds, walked in with rounded shoulders, shuffled steps, head slightly down. The other entered with shoulders back, chin level, measured strides. She said the difference was so stark, it was almost comical. One seemed 20 years older than the other, despite being the exact same age. The practical application here is both immediate and ongoing. Immediate changes can happen right now. Awareness of shoulder position, conscious adjustment throughout the day. Ongoing improvements come from basic strengthening of the muscles that support upright posture, particularly the upper back and core. The return on investment here is massive. No other single change can so dramatically affect how women perceive a man over 60. And unlike many physical attributes that are largely fixed, posture is completely within a man's control. But there's one final body part that brings everything together, and it might be the most surprising of all. Number 5, the mouth and how it moves. This isn't just about the smile, though. The smile matters enormously. This is about the entire complex of lips, teeth, and most importantly, how the mouth moves during speech and expression. Esther Pell has spoken about mouths as central to both communication and attraction. She notes that women are often subconsciously evaluating a man's mouth during conversation, reading not just words, but the way those words are formed. The mouth becomes a preview of intimacy in ways that most men never consider. Let me break down what women are actually observing. First, dental health and maintenance. This isn't about having perfect teeth. In fact, overly perfect teeth can read as artificial. It's about baseline care, clean teeth, fresh breath, the absence of obvious neglect. A survey by the American Dental Association found that 73% of women rated teeth as the first feature they notice. And for older adults, this percentage actually increased. Second, The quality of the smile. Is it genuine or forced? Does it reach the eyes? Does it appear easily or seem straight? Authentic smiles are one of the most universally attractive human expressions, and women can detect the difference between real and performed smiles with remarkable accuracy. Third, and this is where things get interesting for men over 60, the movement of the mouth during speech. Does he speak clearly and deliberately? Is there confidence in how words are formed, or is there mumbling, rushing, verbal insecurity? A speech pathologist I consulted explained that women often process male speech partially through visual channels, watching mouth movements along with hearing the voice. This is why video calls often feel more connecting than phone calls. We're seeing the mouth work along with hearing the sound. For older men, the mouth can show age in ways that are actually attractive. Lines around the mouth from years of expression, slight asymmetries that suggest character. These can read as distinguished rather than diminished. A woman described her attraction to her partner's mouth. Specifically, she said she noticed how he spoke first, measured clear with pauses that showed he was actually thinking about his words. Then she noticed his smile, which appeared slowly and genuinely, never rushed or performed. She said she trusted that mouth before she consciously decided to trust the man attached to it. The practical elements here are straightforward. Dental care becomes more important, not less. As men age, regular cleanings, attention to breath, maintenance of whatever teeth are present. But beyond hygiene, there's the behavioral element. Practicing genuine smiles, speaking with deliberate clarity, allowing the mouth to express rather than suppress emotion. So there they are, 5 body parts that women scan instantly when they encounter men. Over 60, hands that show capability and care through their grooming and movement, forearms that reveal physical competence through visible definition, eyes that communicate presence and emotional availability, shoulders and posture that signal continued vitality and confidence, and the mouth which previews both health and the potential for intimacy. None of these require gym memberships, expensive treatments, or radical interventions. They require attention. They require the recognition that attraction doesn't end at any particular age. It simply shifts its focus. Esso's work consistently emphasizes that desire is about aliveness, about presence, about the energy someone brings to an interaction. The body parts I've discussed aren't just physical features. They're the places where that energy becomes visible. The men who understand this, who maintain these areas while their peers neglect them, create an almost unfair advantage. They become noticeable in spaces where other men of similar age become invisible. And here's the final insight that ties everything together. All 5 of these body parts share something in common. They're about how a man engages with the world around him. Hands that do things, forearms that work, eyes that see, shoulders that face forward, a mouth that communicates. These aren't passive features to be displayed. They're active expressions of how a man lives. Women are reading them because they tell a story that words alone cannot tell. And for men over 60, that story can be one of continued engagement with life or gradual retreat from it. The choice is visible in these 5 places, whether men realize it or not. Now, everything I've shared today covers what women see when they look at a man. But attraction isn't only visual. It's also deeply physical in terms of contact, touch, and the way bodies interact. And this is exactly why you need to watch what's appearing on your screen right now. The video titled How to Hug Her in a Way That Triggers Desire. Female psychology takes everything we've discussed about body parts and shows you how to actually use them, because a man can have perfect posture, capable hands, and present eyes. But if he doesn't know how to translate that into physical connection, he's leaving the most powerful attraction tool completely unused. That video breaks down the specific mechanics of embrace that trigger neurological responses in women. It explains why most men hugging correctly and how the right kind of physical contact can create desire almost instantly. Click that video now because understanding what women see is only half the equation.